A life of misery is what Jahannam represents. A life of happiness, of enjoyment of the goodies of this life, of usefulness, of comforts, of having the ability not only to enjoy the good things, but to share it with others and provide an environment of shade and comfort and relaxation to one's family and strangers, is what is synonymous with Jannah, if we study that in the Qur'anic language. So the Qur'an teaches us that these prophets, they all brought a new world order. And the biggest principle in this world order, we should not fight among ourselves. We should not discriminate against one another on the basis of which messenger we have gotten the message from. The fact is, whichever messenger we have gotten the message from, we shouldn't forget the fundamental thing, and that is, all the messengers came with the message from Allah. And Allah doesn't like Christians more than He likes Muslims. And He doesn't like Muslims more than He likes Christians. And He doesn't like Jews more than He likes the rest of the world. Every community wants you to believe that. Allah loves the people who by name are not Muslims, but who by actions are Muslims. Actions mean here, people who submit to divine values, lofty values, enhancing values, empowering values, values that you and I can know when we have it, it will take us out of the mess and put us into enhancement. And the prophets, all of them, came and asked their community, don't shatter divine principles. Like the Qur'an told the Prophet in chapter 6, 159, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ. Those, literally, farraqa means to divide. But you have to understand why dividing, not as a means of efficiency, can be a problem. If we divide into groups for workload efficiency, that's a good thing. We all live in this part of the world where it takes not one man to build a car. It doesn't take one man to build a house. It doesn't take one man to run an office. It doesn't take one woman to run an industry. We learned something that's called division of labor and efficiency of labor. Those kind of divisions, the people who are building a car, they are not fighting one another. They are not opposing one another. The people who are building a house, oh, this one is building the roof, that one is taking care of it. He said, no, I throw out this, I don't like how you're building the roof. They both will lose their job. They have to work in coordination. They have to work in cooperation. And division for the purpose of efficiency that maintains discipline and coherence is a blessing. And you can see it. All those cars you and I drive, they're not built by one person. But division that are repugnant to the essence of the product. Division that works against one another. Division that does not take into consideration the principle of the relationship between people, harms rather than does good. And that's why the Qur'an says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ, those who shatter the principles of the social order. You want to see who shattered the principles of the social order? Take a visit to the Muslim countries. There's no shortage of masjid in the Muslim countries. There's no shortage of anything. But there's an overflow of the absence of human rights. They've shattered the principles of deen, because the principles of deen is nobody is superior to the other. You want to see where the principles of the social order is shattered? Look in the Muslim communities, where each person doesn't have the rights for the society that he or she belongs to. You go right here where most of the masjids are. What you think is the big problem here? The big problem here is the problems you have over there. They bring it here. When they want to build a masjid, they collect money from everybody. After the masjid is built, look at the fight. A particular group from a particular country wants to take control. And they make sure they do it by hook or crook. They do it by hook or crook. Travel the masjids and you understand what happened. When they can't do it openly, they do it in the background. They get all these proxy votes and they come up with them on the day of the election and they cast them. And that's why almost all the masjids presents a cultural, ethnic vision of Islam. It's not a lofty, open-minded, intellectual, dynamic, enhancing system of Islam. You can choose where you want to go. You can get Pakistani masjid, Indian masjid, Guyanese masjid, Arab masjid, and you'll get the same products that generally come from those countries. Whereas the deen of Allah came not to take away from people their identity so that they lose sense of their history, but the deen of Allah came to unite the human society. To unite the human society on principles that are above and beyond the cultural stagnations of people. And that's what prophets came. So when the Qur'an says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ, تَفْرِيقُ الدِّينِ doesn't only mean to call yourself Sunni and Shia. That's the beginning of the problem. That's the beginning of the problem. But tafriq ad-din means to shatter the social order. Because when you and I are part of a social order, we don't feel that we have superior rights over one another. And in the world in which we live in, and Muslim countries par excellence stand out, that their citizens don't have the fundamental rights. They disenfranchise them in many ways. In the name of religion, you're disenfranchised because all these laws in the name of fiqh, and the average man doesn't know what fiqh really means. So you get what you don't deserve by not being proactive in your life. Fiqh really means inspiration, enlightenment, higher vision of life. Fiqh doesn't mean matters of juristic hair splitting. That's, as I told you, study all the textbooks that are prescribed in the university in Arabia or Pakistan or India or Bangladesh or wherever. And you will see they center onto ikhtilaf. اختلف العلماء على السبع اختلف العلماء على العشرين. The ulama differ on this and differ on that. You can see the masses how they're split up. Because there's more differences than agreements. There are hardly things Muslims agree on. They don't even agree on the Qur'an. They don't even agree to study the Qur'an. They agree on a cheap way of life.